Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Toonkind at 12 FPS. I am Oatmeal, and I will be playing the Professor. And with me,
Hello, I am Winona, and I'll be playing Scribble Scrambles.
hmm after it's been a long time since Professor and Scribbles got to talk. Um,
Yeah,
I think strictly speaking, it was Order of the Pink Dragon.
yeah,
Um,
it's they've probably written letters to each other, but they've both
yeah.
been busy in their lives to like hang out like 101. Most of the time,
Mm,
it's with the the little oh my gosh, the Fellowship of the Reds.
yes, yeah. Yeah, so they've had a little written correspondence and stuff, but yeah, and so a lot has happened since then for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Um so much stuff. Uh
Yeah.
and oh yeah.
Is a he's had vampire attacks. Scribble's been
Mm,
in a war. It's been a
absolutely.
lot.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So Professor is coming off of the those vampire games particularly, and that was a really really rough time. So uh uh he's uh he's written Scribbles a letter that Scribbles receives, and it goes a bit like this. Scribbles, it's been a while. I'm glad to hear that you made it through the Pokemon conflict. I've had my own fair share of trouble since we last met. I'd be glad to discuss these matters as we usually do, if you would like to, but first, let's do something fun. Get away from it all for a few moments. I have a feeling we both need a break. What do you say? Your friend, the Professor.
Yeah. Scribbles is gonna read that. He's like, oh yeah, that sounds really nice to get away from it all. But at the same time, he's just like, wait, this is also the first time he's ever suggested that. Most of the time, Scribbles has been the one initiating it. So he's just like, okay, that's cool, but also there's a slight sort of gut feeling. It's just like, is there something up? Because it's like feels like lately everything's been up and he's still somewhat on edge.
Yeah, that's understandable.
So yeah, Scribbles does give like a time and a date. Probably is a little definitely it's after the vacation and stuff and
Mm.
everything. So he does like tell like the professor, okay, I am free at this time at this date.
Yeah. All right. And Professor will show up at that time and date. Definitely on the date. Let me see. Um I'm gonna roll. Yeah, okay. The ellipsis shows up like 5 minutes late in the same spot in his bedroom that she had been showing up a few times.
Yeah, Scribbles is probably just waiting on the bed reading a book because it's just like he's used to this ellipsis just being in that one spot.
Yeah. Uh so the door creaks open and the professor steps out and he just sort of like looks around the room and he's like, "Oh, okay. This wasn't exactly where I was aiming, but all right."
I don't know. At least it may not be the exact spot, but you're at least pretty consistent in the spot you do set in. And Scribbles put down his book.
Yes, I guess that's something.
Yeah, it'll say we'll definitely have to talk when we finally build our castle. I actually have an
Mm.
idea where the ellipsis can park. I actually got a few ideas, but yeah.
Oh, very nice. Well, would you like to come with me?
Of course, as Scribbles gets out of bed. and just goes into the ellipsis. Gives gives Ellie a good pat on the console.
Mm-hmm. And Professor will start uh punching in coordinates and adjusting things on the console with a bunch of beeps and boops and such. Um After closing the door. And it starts to take off, making that usual sort of mechanical wheezing and groaning noise.
Mm-hmm.
Um and the professor just sort of like um uh leans back a little bit. He's still like watching the console, but he smiles at Scribbles and he goes like, "All right, I want to show you something in particular first before we go to our actual destination."
Oh, and Scribbles cocks an eyebrow.
Um he just smiles wider. um and uh the ellipsis is not long for the ellipsis stops making noise uh and has quote unquote landed. It's no longer in transit.
Yeah.
um and the professor like puts a finger up to say like wait, and adjust a few settings on one of the bits of the console. um it's something that he doesn't like. uh some particular instruments that he doesn't usually do much with,
Mm-hmm.
but he's adjusting them now. um and then he goes to the door and gestures for Scribbles to open it, and he's just got uh just the widest grin on his face.
Scribble just squints at him. Like, he's just like, what are you up to? As he just slowly goes up to the door and just looks at the professor for a moment and then just opens it. He's like,
And outside is a view of Zatori from space.
blink, blink. Scribbles looks at this and he's just like, Professor,
Mm,
are we in space?
yes.
Literal space.
Oh, yes. Don't worry about the vacuum. I've set up a perimeter with atmosphere.
Ah, I see. I, I, I mean, he just looks at Satori.
Yeah, yeah.
I did know what I expected, but I wasn't expecting this.
Mm-hmm. The professor just sort of like leans against the door frame, and he goes like, there's a very good chance that you're possibly uh hmm possibly the first person who who's actually native to the planet to see it from this angle.
There's a good possibilities, but there's also space penguins on the moon, and I don't
Yes,
know.
but they live on the moon.
Have people gone to the moon before? And he just thinks about this. And he's just like, dot dot dot. I don't technically think so. I think you're right, but I'm just like, ah. He just looks at the Tory. It's just like, this is just amazing, and I'm just like, he's like very cautious about the entrance. He's just like, even though he said there's like a bubble, he's just like, he feels like there should be like a window or something.
Uh-huh. Yeah. The professor seems at ease, but he sort of sees like his caution, and he goes like, um, as long as you stay within the door, uh, gravity will still act upon you. If you go out, um, it's zero gravity, but there is atmosphere. And um, hmm, I mean, I've got mage hand. It wouldn't be difficult to pull you back.
I mean, I would be stupid enough to step out of the doorway as he just like go. He's just now closer now to the edge of the doorway, like hanging on to sort of like one of the door frames, like making sure he has
Hmm.
a good grip on it.
Yeah, yeah. It looks nice from up here, doesn't it?
It's it's very big. Like I know planets are big, but it's just like wow.
Oh yes, it's different to see it from out here than when you're on it. Well, and when you're on it, the only planets you see, well, at least in a system like this, are mostly just pinpricks in the sky.
Pretty much, yeah. Other than like our own moon, but that's a different. But that's different.
Hmm.
Wow. As he just sort of now like settles down a bit as he just like stares in awe.
Hmm. Yeah, the professor is also just sort of like uh looking very happily between like Scribbles and the planet, also admiring it.
So she is fully space operational now.
Yes, I would say that there are some hazards, uh some galactic hazards that we'd still have a bit of difficulty with, but yes, much safer than when I er landed.
I would hope to say. I would hope so.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's just quiet for a moment.
Hmm. Yeah, Professor is too. He'll probably like uh point out a few different like features and um like on the planet and like uh like the different continents that he knows of at least.
Mm-hmm. And Scribbles listens to this and he's like smiling and stuff. But say you can make it. The professor can roll an insight if he wants.
Mm, yes. That's a 9. That's not great.
Yeah, you don't really get anything from Scribbles other than sort of like awe.
Nice. Yeah. But I think after a bit, um uh and like, describing like pointing out different like constellations and stuff and
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Um he just sort of like is quiet for a bit and then says like, um shall we move on?
I mean, we can. And we can if you want you to. I'm to say, it's amazing how small, like, compared to, like, everything else in this galaxy, in this universe, it's just, we are very small compared to everything else. He's just looking at the planet.
Yes, that's true.
He looks at the professor. It's just like, is this. I. Is this there's your way of sort of telling me that you want to start going out to different planets and stuff. It's just like, you don't. I know that you don't have to stay here now.
He just sort of like blinks and he's like, No, that's not what I meant. Um, he sort of like glances away and uh like rubs the back of his neck. Like, I've actually been out a few times since landing in Inkwell. I just usually return before, well, anyone notices. I mean, time machine.
That's fair. That's fair. It's just, I don't know. And he leans up against the door frame, sort of looking back at the planet. It's just like, why stay with here? I mean, we're just, again, sort of pinpricked for not really anything spectacular. We're not unique. It's just like,
Mm,
why stay around?
I disagree. His nose is sort of scrunched. Goes like, as small as we are, we're no less significant. And uh, personally, I find great wonder in this place. I had not uh, encountered beings that uh, worked the way tunes do, and environments that work the way Inkwell does. And considering the breadth of my travel, that's uh, extremely impressive. But aside from general curiosity, well, I mean, I'm I may be an alien and a traveler, but I'm still a person. I have, have made friends here, and it's reluctant to leave you.
You do see sort of a calm and sort of smile because of that. Like, I mean, that's good to hear. I guess when you see your own planet like this, I don't know, it just makes you think about your place in this world, in this universe, in this life.
Oh, absolutely. And he sort of like pat Scribbles on the shoulder, like, this sort of thing typically uh commonly brings up all sorts of existential questions.
He does chuckle that, yeah. Especially since like, I mean, your kind, and I'm pretty sure like you've seen like so many like other advanced technologies, magic,
Hmm,
and we barely just traveled to our moon. It's just,
that's true.
I don't know. It's just, again, yeah, you're right. It's just existential crisis and wondering if you're actually worth it or not. You know?
Oh, I can understand that, but well, I think it's important to realize your own worth, despite or even sometimes because of uh, where you are and what you are, and uh, your place in time and progression. And I mean, if I wanted more advanced technology, I could, I could zip 1,000 years into your future. But I like it here.
Well, glad you do. He just sort of becomes quiet again as he just small smile as he looks at the professor.
Hmm.
I think you were saying you had something else somewhere else to show me?
Yes, that's right. Um, uh, give me a moment. He's going to go back to the console, um, and close that door.
Oh, right.
Bef
He closes the door immediately.
um, he's going to, adjust a few things, enter coordinates again, um, and the ellipsis is in motion again. And after a little longer this time, it's like a uh, good few minutes. Um, uh, it stops making noise and the column stops moving. It makes a tun sound, and they have landed again. And Professor makes sort of those same different adjustments on the console as he did before, with a few extra twists of the knobs and flicks of the levers, um, before going out to the door again.
Scribbles follows very curious now.
All right. Uh, and he sort of gestures at the door, like, if you'd like to.
Alrighty, as Scribbles goes to the door and now with way more confidence opens it.
Uh-huh. And this is more akin to the picture of the title card. Um, it is uh essentially just outside of like a nebula with a view of it, and the sky is just absolutely packed with stars. Way more than you could see on even the clearest night on Zatori, just because it's in
Mm,
a different location. There are just more here.
yeah, and Scribbles just almost eyes become stars as he just jaw dropped looking around. He's like, wow, where are we?
This is uh should I make up a name? Uh
You can if you want to. This could be anywhere in the universe.
this is the let's see. This is the Catalan Nebula. Um we're just we're a lot closer to um let's see. We're in a different galaxy actually than yours. Um so even the distant star fields won't look very familiar. Um and we're a decent bit closer to the center of the universe than Zatori is.
Wow.
Not super, not too much closer though, because honestly, things get really bright there.
Ah,
It
I see.
we wouldn't be able to see the spaces between the stars.
I see. But
Hmm.
man, wow. Different galaxy altogether. This is
Oh.
absolutely beautiful.
And this is one of the sites that uh very few beings in existence would be able to see in person because uh, of, and the ellipsis is protecting us from these things, the amount of radiation and particle matter and uh, all sorts of harmful energies that are just being uh, held at bay. Otherwise, typically only machines could make it out here.
I see. Wow. I'm, I'm the luckiest guy in the world then.
But yes, many stars are born in here. This is
It's a nursery, right?
yes, essentially. Um, all of those swirly bits are a bunch of different uh, highly energized, superheated gases, which the stars uh, use to, well, they use as fuel and they uh, coalesce into each other to form stars.
Scribbles nods this. I've read a bit of this. I did take a class in, of course, stuff in college.
Hmm.
Stars are very important to, is say, related to magical things, whether it be for rituals or
Hmm.
different magical events that happen on their alignment. But it's a
Hmm.
quite a wonder to see where they're actually made.
Hmm. This is, I like this view in particular because uh, it's very visually appealing.
Yeah, I agree. It is very visually appealing.
Hmm.
He then looks down and he sort of catches himself as he grips spears all right. So note to self, don't look down. It's just
Mm.
it feels weird that we're just floating in space, but at the same time we get amazing views like this.
Yes. Uh, yes, it is. Having a void in all directions takes some getting used to.
Yeah, I can definitely see why. As he glances down, but then immediately just keeps looking straight.
Uh, Professor's just like looking out, like contently at the view. Um, and he, after a bit, he like sits down in the doorway.
Yeah, and once he sees the professor sit down in the doorway, he goes to join him. Very much a little bit more slowly. He's just he knows he's gonna be fine, but at the same time he's just okay, my butt is firmly in the machine. I have a seal that is within reach and I can grip onto. Yes,
Hmm.
I am okay.
Yeah. Hmm.
Scribbles just probably for a little bit just enjoys the view, but then eventually cuts the side and is um, so
Hmm.
are you okay, Professor?
Hmm. That's difficult to answer.
Yes, as much as I very much enjoy this little outing, it's just usually I'm the one to suggest such things, and I was, I won't, I won't lie when I say I was a little bit worried when you made the first call per se.
Yes, it is uh not usually my habit. Well, uh well, as I said in the letter, a lot has happened. Um,
You want to talk about it?
hmm, hmm. He's just like quiet for a bit. Uh, and you're welcome to roll insight.
Yes, I will definitely roll insight. Yeah. All right. All right. That's a 13.
Oh, okay. Uh, yeah.
It's not the worst thing to roll, but at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I'd say you get that he wants to, but he feels a little maybe sheepish or something like that about doing so.
I mean, this is literally the best place to talk about stuff. Nothing but us, the ellipsis, and space. There is no one out here. Unless I am wrong about something and you know something that can crawl within space that I don't. But as far as I know, no one else is out here.
Oh, nothing in this area.
Yeah.
There might be a few let's see, what would be the Satorian equivalent? Uh Sort of like a almost like a baleen whale.
Oh.
Yes, sort of filter feeders out in the denser, well, not too dense, but the denser gas clouds out there. But don't think any of them are close enough to bother us.
Which is fair. Which sounds very interesting. I would love to see that one day. But for right now, I this is just like this is no better. This is the best place to talk.
Yes, I suppose you're right. Well, there was oh gosh, I don't think I told you about Yedo.
I
Um,
know that you were going to Yeto, but didn't know the timeline of that and if things have concluded and or are persisting.
right. So you met Arata.
Yeah, I know Arata.
Yes. He's from Yedo, and one of his uh, uh well, friends is maybe not well, friends is not a entirely accurate word to describe it, but one of his friends from Yedo um had uh hmm well he was sort of a rival. Um,
Alright.
uh, his name is Azumi, Detective Shiro Azumi.
Hmm. I have not
Um,
heard of them, but please continue.
right. Well, he was uh oh, actually, another connection. He's Camille's older brother, at least he is now.
Huh. I know a Camille, but I again never seen him before, but please continue on.
Mhm. Um, well, he was um presumed, uh, presumed dead after going missing a number of years ago, and then he showed up in Einquell. As it turned out, he actually was and had been resurrected. Um,
Wow, that's some powerful magic.
oh, absolutely. We're still trying to figure out who did it because his body was in a place that was very difficult to um, access. Uh, I mean, to put it simply, you would need something like this. And the professor sort of like knocks his knuckles on the
Mm-hmm.
side of the ellipsis.
I see. He gives a nod.
So definitely somebody very powerful. But and with kind of unclear motives. Because not only was he resurrected, but he also had a modified geas placed on him. Although it didn't seem to, the way it was modified, it didn't actually uh, harm him to disobey it.
Huh. That is indeed interesting.
Yes. Uh, and, well, going back to Yedo was him returning to face uh, his past because he had been um, a criminal, um, and not just the thieving sort.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he, well, it was very difficult because he had the sense that he had to turn himself in and face punishment, but he was very quickly released from prison due to events that we're pretty sure were manipulated by this mysterious uh, person who seems to be working in his interest.
All right.
Now, this did not help his mental health, which had uh, honestly plunged pretty far.
Hmm. Hmm. That'd be understandable.
Hmm. But we spent some time out there just sort of trying to investigate who was pulling his strings um, and also help him to uh, to feel better, to recover um, some of his mental health and get out of the sort of rut he was stuck in. And we were able to do that. It was just um, a lot.
Indeed. It sounds like it was a lot.
Hmm. Um, let's see. Oh, then there was um, when we got back to Einquell, there was a mission we ran for a course that Azumi and I had been working on. Um, and while he was doing much better, the mission, through no fault of his, uh, went really poorly. We infiltrated a criminal mastermind's um, uh, office, and things went so badly that instead of sneaking back out, we got in a fight, and it was really close. Uh, three of us, well, uh, three of us got hurt very badly, including myself. And Azumi was knocked out before I was able to um, bring him back. And then We also there are some loose cannons on that team. Um, we very nearly uh, got rid of the CEO permanently, but managed to not follow through with that.
Mm-hmm. And Scribble's just nodding along to this.
Hmm. Um, there was this odd business in an antique shop with uh, a just sort of this very confusing. I still don't understand it. There was this shop that like teleported to different places, and it was alive. It was kind of, it was almost like a, it might have been a genius loci, but I'm not sure.
Hmm.
Uh, it might have been an elaborate mimic for all I know.
Could be a possible, like, other dimension, like a pocket dimension. And
Well,
say this,
that
say,
that was definitely involved,
fair enough.
but it also seemed to be um, alive.
Hmm.
And then there was this artifact um, that would rapidly uh, age or de-age whoever was holding it. Just this temporal tomfoolery.
Hmm. Yeah, sounds like a work of a master chrono wizard or something of the sorts.
Yes, yes, it does. And it's just that a few things that were said uh, worried me because people see the people who knew the quote unquote master of the shop that said that he took on different forms. He didn't always look the same. Uh he didn't have a single name. He uh,
Very secretive, it sounds like.
yes, but hmm, I
Fortunately,
was I was not happy with the amount of uh temporal manipulation going on in there.
yeah, I don't blame you one sword. I don't blame you at all on that front.
Mm.
Though I could say, unfortunately, there could be a number of reasons for this, for his shape-shifting appearance, say, different places. Unfortunately, without any concrete evidence, say, it would be hard to narrow it down.
Yes, part of me part of me guessed wants to think that it could be a time czar, but I'm that's impossible. And I'm dearly hoping that that's not
Why would
the
it be
case.
impossible? Out of curiosity.
Oh, well, they don't uh they don't leave the planet except for a few rogues
Like yourself.
who's
And he gives a
like
little smirk.
yes, like myself. Most of whose identities I know and would recognize their MO. But there are a few that I don't, and it, I mean, I've looked. There's no record of time czars here. Uh, in at least in Inkwell that I've seen. I'm certain I'm the first one to actually come here.
I I mean, fair enough. Say, I mean, you never know what plot's gonna hand you next, but at least you have some certainty that this isn't it, and hopefully it isn't.
Yes. Yes, because anything else I can deal with, but he just sort of rolls his eyes like a time czar is just ugh.
It was enough trying to beat the bastard that tried to control you.
Mm, right. Though granted he was uh in another league.
Doesn't make him any less of a bastard.
No, no. Um, hmm. Let's
But
see. I met a dragon, but I won't say where. They promised me I promised them not to.
fair enough, dragons are secretive and they like try to keep hidden. Fair enough.
Yeah. He's just sort of tilts his head and he's like, I guess that's a good thing, not not a trouble I ran into.
Hey, they're good
Uh,
dragons.
yeah, yeah. Um, let's see. Uh, well, and I guess that brings us to nearly the present because the last thing that happened was uh arguably the worst, at least in its effect on me personally.
Scribbles makes the
Um,
like hand motion to go on.
yes, I along with actually Azumi, Camille, a detective named Grim Tome, and a stage magician named let's see, what was it? Uh, Eri Houdin. Um, I, well, we all ended up in a what started as a missing persons case, but it turned out that the place that we'd um, gone to investigate was a vampire den.
Oof. Yeah, that's rough.
Yes. And well, that would have been hard enough on its own, but time czars have a rather long history with vampires, uh, and it still us, affects me, despite having, uh, well, really only one personal incident involving a vampire in my lifetime. And that time uh, I, I was able to get away before I ever had to face the thing.
Huh. Why would why would your species have a rivalry with vampires, if I can ask?
Yeah, you may. Um, well, when we were just getting started, in the time of Tassalon and Epsilon and the Extra, uh, well, although yes, yes, no, in their time, um, there was, uh, it's it's the beginning of our history and the beginning of history, in many senses. So the actual um, inciting events are unclear, but one way or another, these ancient vampires, grand vampires, whatever you want to call them,
Uh,
came into the universe, and uh, without much further ado, started preying on us.
preying on you.
But yes, uh, it was a, a pretty straightforward reason. Vampires need the blood of living creatures to survive, and keep themselves going and rejuvenated and healthy, maintain their immortality, um, and having basically just turned ourselves from Phalagrayans into Time Czars, vastly extending our lifespans. Um, we were the closest to uh, immortality among the civilizations available. We were the closest to immortality uh, by a long shot, and so our blood was extremely desirable to them, and um, uh, they just liked it best.
Huh. That's it. I mean, it kind of makes sense, but also sort of interesting. I I don't know much about vampires, but yeah,
Mm.
being like yourself is saying being like yeah, it's just I could see why well time stars would not like those vampires or any vampire.
Hmm. Yes. Well, uh, I think that vampires would have gone for beings like celestials or deities, except that by the nature of them, their blood, their ichor would, well, it would destroy them.
Yep, it would. So at least in the food chain, you'd be he sort of pauses, just like he's like it's sort of a very casual way to say it, but he's trying to think of an easier way to say it. It's just like unless there were others that were not as powerful as you at the time, probably one of the better choices.
Uh, yes, no, we were their favored prey, and they became our um unnatural predators.
Mm, yeah, I can. Are you okay, Professor? As he like puts a hand on his shoulder. I know it's hard for you to say your feelings, but having an experience just like that with a just a reg just a like a mortal vampire, not like an ancient one or anything, I can only imagine what emotions, feelings that you went through.
Yes. Well, um, I I'm better now, but at the time I was very much not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that uh I can say that definitively. I Due to our long history and uh, the war we fought with them that lasted millennia and such, and this was at the same time that we were manipulating our own genetics. I'm essentially hardwired to, well, both have an instinctive fear and uh, desire to destroy vampires.
I mean, makes sense with the long history.
Hmm. So there were, um, well, I'm, I would say that due to my own natural personality and tendencies and moral leanings, I think I lean more towards the fear part, which is probably for the best. Um, but it saves me a bit of trouble. But yeah, I definitely had some significant um, freak outs during our time uh, there at this it was a ski lodge actually.
Mm-hmm.
I was even at one point uh, so far out of control that I uh, I pulled my weapon on a vampire who'd allied himself with and had to be stopped by Tome.
Ah, yeah. He's just like, oh yeah, that's bad. That look on his face.
Yeah, he's just sort of like nodding slowly. And then to top it all off, the uh, uh, the mm, sort of master vampire of this particular den, um, uh, well, we had to fight him, and he uh, bit me rather badly.
Yeah, Scribbles is just like eyes wide a bit. I, oof, vampire bites are no little no little thing. I say, I hope I say he looks at the professor. It at least seems you've been recovering well.
Oh yes. Uh, let's see. He sort of like he turns his head and gestures to he like points at a
Mhm.
spot on his neck, and there's two very like faint
Mhm.
dots that are sort
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
like slightly discolored, and he
Mhm.
says like it's already fading, but yes, I actually with some help from Crystal especially.
Oh, good, Crystal. I know her. Say, very nice lady.
Oh yes, yes. So physically speaking, uh I'm fine, but that was certainly a time.
I mean, but mentally, are you still feeling the effects?
I would say uh a, a few lingering effects yet, but for the most part, well, I did manage to speak to, well, I spoke to Crystal, and then Tome checked on me, and then Azumi and Camille came to talk, and honestly, that helped immensely. So I have been able to talk it out already, um, even before now.
Mhm.
So a good deal of it, I think uh, I've processed what happens, and well, honestly, I think the fact that I'm able to uh, lay it out as plainly as I am right now is probably a testament to that.
Yes, it is. And Scribbles gives a nod. And though maybe this is the time to talk about it because honestly, I've been wondering about you going out to seek or at least talk about things that happened. I mean, back when we faced a literal dragon, you handled it like it was no big deal. It's just I know
Mm,
because of what has happened in your past with, the cultists and everything, you want your space and you like your secrecy, but at the same time, we very much care about you and we want to make sure you are doing right emotionally, physically, and everything like that.
mm. He
I
just sort of looks thoughtful and nods.
like I do want to respect how you like being free and everything, but at the same time, I do like these. I do like the thought of maybe you visiting in person more. I mean, I'm glad you're with others too. I say, don't make me think. Please don't think that I'm, say, being, you know, possessive or anything. I
Oh
don't.
no,
I
dear. No, 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 no. I wouldn't.
no. I say, still have baggage from my own past, but I
Certainly.
also feel like you also don't really, say, tell your emotions out often to many people, and you don't have to always come to me. And I am again glad that other people have come to you about your wealth and your your health and safety. But I also worried that you're, say, you need to do it yourself. You know?
Mm. Yes, uh I think mm, Tome made a similar, not quite the same, but a similar point recently. Um I There are some things that just don't phase me. Um the fight with the dragon uh didn't especially. I mean, there were a few moments um uh when it uh when she hurt you particularly badly that stood out, but uh I mean, otherwise we were doing decently well, and it seemed all sorted by the end of it. Uh that's not a abnormal um experience for me. I just have had so many sort of fantastic things happen uh, that I things like that don't usually leave uh, as deep a mark as they would uh, most other people. But then there are some things that do um, do affect me on a deeper level, and uh, either because they involve somebody I care about, or they just push some of my buttons or hit upon something uh, personal.
Yeah, Scribbles just nods along to this. I mean, I can I can sort of see now that I just, I just worry about, well, your mental health and things can build up over time and
Hmm.
everything.
Yes, I think you're right. I should probably talk to people more about things, have a number of people available to talk to. Um, he sort of ducks his head slightly, like sheepishly, and does a little shrug, and he says, like, I wasn't really sure if I was um, imposing for a while.
Scribbles
Um,
just laughs. He just gives a hearty laugh. Professor, I don't think, at least to me, you have not been imposing at all. If anything, I've been, again, more worried about you than yourself.
yeah, he relaxes and chuckles a little bit. Yes, I've been reminded recently that uh, that people uh, can and do choose to put in that time uh, and care, and that I should uh, accept that.
Yeah. He pats the professor on the back. You're an inkwell, buddy. It's happened. It can and has already happened.
uh,
Yeah. Again, I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, but trying to find the right time and place and everything.
hmm,
I just, again, I do respect your boundaries and do respect, say, your feelings, but I also do deeply care about you, and I want to make sure that you are doing, again, well, mentally, emotionally, say, physically.
hmm. He just sort of like nods and smiles fondly. Well, uh, I appreciate that. And well, I'll be honest, I think I could probably stand to um be uh, challenged on some things. Uh I appreciate the respect for my privacy and my space, but honestly, sometimes I do need somebody to uh to
Push your
I don't
buttons.
yes, yes.
Yeah. I
I
res-
I promise I will let you know if you ever go too far.
Likewise. And I just, after you've seen what I've been through and how I used to
Mm.
act, I just, sometimes I worry that I don't want to go too far.
Oh,
My,
certainly. That makes sense. You're being cautious.
yeah. But,
Well, that's understandable.
yeah. But
Well, I'm giving you permission to push it with me.
alright then. But I also, I know that I won't always be available. Though I will try to make my time to my schedule to do so. Believe you me.
No, that's all right, dear. I don't expect such things.
But you can come to me with anything. I literally can't judge you on pretty much anything. And he gives a little laugh.
Thank you, dear. Uh, and likewise.
And he gives a little smile back.
Speaking of, if there isn't anything else you've been meaning to bring up, I've been meaning to ask about uh this war.
Yes, the war. And he sort of like leans on the frame. Thank God it's finally over. With some
Mm,
help, of course. We
mm,
sort of. It's kind of divine intervention, but not really.
mm.
But basically started when Lynn, stagehand, detective, you may have
I've
heard of
heard of
her.
her.
I was gonna say, I would be surprised if you haven't heard of her.
Mhm,
But she was gonna get us all together, and she did, to update us on some new info upon the Pokemon case in the war.
mm,
When, unfortunately, tragedy struck when, say, there was an attack in Column
mm,
Seal with, say one of the victims, or at least one of the children of the victims, Faber's daughter was attacked, the genius
Mm.
loci,
Mm-hmm.
and well, they say we went to her and say found out that the King of Rings say sent some minions to get some stuff from his workshop to try to expedite the building of his body so he can
Mm.
basically say the King of Rings, because of Ark's foolishness, became a genius loci in itself with the old island of Cinnabar, with the sea,
Oh,
with the ceiling and everything.
good grief.
Yeah, and so he needed something like Scratch has a mini body to transfer his being into to like move around and
Mm.
stuff. You know, you remember when he used to do
Yes.
that.
Right, right.
Say so. Yeah, and then we had a little say we were trying to figure out how to do things, and we needed to get a little bit more information, and thankfully the ferryman was around. We decided to go to him, and we got the information needed, and we went to Cinnabar Island.
Mm.
Unfortunately, this we also found out that Ark was heading to the island too.
Ah.
Not exactly surprised because, well, probably would have felt his presence with the life lock. Oh yeah, I need to tell you about the life lock. Apparently, how Ark sealed this King of Rings has to do with a life lock, where
Mm.
as long as the sort of name suggests, as long as the person lives, the binding or the curse and
Ah.
they say will live on.
Uh-huh.
Hence
Mm.
why hence why when we found out that the dark and ghost types were where basically can't leave the island that Arca Prismium's on, is because of a life lock, because
Oh,
he used his artificer genius to put him in a dome island, and only non ghost types or dark types could pass through it safely.
good grief.
Yeah,
Is there any way of reversing it?
yeah, either ending the person or cutting off the connection in some way,
Mm-hmm.
which we thankfully did once everything was over. Apparently, like if you cut off the connection through like some magic canceling, like say,
Mm-hmm.
oh, what are they called again? You put them on your wrist, handcuffs. I don't know why I couldn't
Oh.
think of that for a second. Lynn
Mm-hmm.
had some, but it also helped that Ark was also okay. I'm getting getting a bit far ahead of myself, but yeah,
It's
this
all
is
right.
basically the sort of climax of the war, where
Mm-hmm.
we went to Cinnabar Island. Unfortunately, we were too late with the King of Rings having his new body,
Mm.
and then of course Ark showed up, and he basically didn't like us being there, but he wanted to keep us safe or at least get us out of the battle. So he basically used his magic to basically create a hole in the ground and sending us to the catacombs that were underneath the island,
Hmm.
while him and Helios fought upon the surface. And of course, Helios put his minions to to try to get rid of us. One of them
Mm.
apparently also, side note, we know how Helios has got his minions because he basically, well, a part of the he basically did a similar thing to like a genius loci, where all of his minions were technically dead. Say they had died
Oh.
in some sort of way, and Helios brought them back into new bodies,
Mm.
and say one of his minions that I actually met before actually got a new body, but he he sort of smiled. He looked ridiculous, but that's honestly that's not consequential to anything.
Mm.
But yeah, me, Selly, Marigold, Lynn, then Gally and Wariwashi. There were two Pokemon that
Mm.
were related to the case. Gally his brother was a dark type and was forced to go to the island, and he's been
Mm.
trying to basically get Ark out of power. Wariwashi, he pauses. He really pauses and just like, honestly, I, I think I think Wariwashi was like a brother to Galley in some way, not like blood related, but they sort of came as a pair. So
Mm-hmm.
he shrugs.
All right.
But basically, we went through the catacombs. We then eventually discovered a little workshop of arcs, and this is where the divine intervention thing came up, where
Mm.
we actually met Unbekant, their
Really?
god. Yeah, I mean, I know this was I'm saying this casually, but apparently it's been a thing that some people just can meet gods, and I met this god before.
I think you mentioned maybe something
Yeah, I
akin to
think I
that.
mentioned that in the past because that's how we got some information about who is a Helios and everything,
Mm.
and how I think that's how. Yeah, that. Anyways, we met Umbakant, and he basically told us how to sail him away and into a different thing. Like we sailed into one of these. Well, for him it was a giant ball, but our plan was to seal Helios in a separate container, and then Unbekant was going to take them to basically imprison them in their own dimension for the rest of the time,
Oh, well.
or at least to make sure they stay dead. You know, their bodies won't be
Mm.
able to recover. They won't be able to access this mortal coil anymore. So they
Mm-hmm.
will be dead like fully,
All right.
and their spirits set to rest.
Mm-hmm.
And through me summoning a draconic spirit, Marigold
Oh.
tackling both of them to the ground to the giant magical circle that I made that Unpicot showed me how to make, and with a red band that only a Pokemon could use, Galley was able to. We were able to activate the circle. Galley was able to seal everyone up, and including the minions, and we ended the war. Also, Ark's arrested, and if you have, it is hilarious to see him in an orange jumpsuit.
Professor, the last few sentences has just been like looking at him like astonished.
Yeah, and he sort of smiles. It's a lot to take in.
Did you say you summoned a draconic spirit?
Yeah, I learned that spell, and he takes out his spell book and shows to the spell summon Draconic Spirit, which is a 6th level spell.
Ooh. Oh my, that's extremely impressive.
5th level spell. Sorry, I thought it was 6th. 6th is gonna be my next level up.
Ah.
But yes, I was able to perform this spell. I learned it quickly after the dragon incident.
Ah.
Yeah, sort of easier when you've seen it happen, you know? And you actually met one, you know?
Oh, certainly. You have a connection to the the thing you're trying to summon.
Mm-hmm.
It's a better mental picture of it.
Yeah.
Uh, Speaking of, has there been any trouble on that front lately?
I have again met Crystal, and we actually discover we went to fully investigate the goo that was left by the dragon originally.
Hmm. He's got a sort of like sheepish expression, like,
Yeah, it's like Scribbles just nods, knowing what's happening. It's just like, let's not talk about that. We already know that happened. Tried to
hmm,
happen.
yep. So did you find anything interesting out about it?
Apparently, he like does prayer hands. In essence, we are dealing with a evil Uda Magicae.
Oh, oh.
And apparently this ichor was its blood, which had both traces of human and toon ink that was combined together, but it was unstable.
Ugh.
Yeah. It almost was like its own like unique being, but not exactly. It wasn't it wasn't done correctly in some way, and is a again it was unstable because of it.
Huh.
Almost is a almost blasted up. The ichor almost got us when I tried to say do an anti magic spell, and it just
Ah.
exploded on us. It was that
Ooh.
unstable.
Mm-hmm. How strange.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we haven't had any other leads since then.
Hmm. Oh, you know what occurred to me?
Oh?
Well, since uh Umbra was um a dragon fully able to uh shapeshift between a humanoid form and a more strictly draconic form. Um well, we were wondering how somebody took her out from that cavern and got away. Well, if uh well, because who could move something that big and also move through the smaller space? Well, another shape-shifting dragon could do that.
Possibly. Technically, say Uda Magica can have any form. Say it's just their personal preference on how they show themselves.
Oh, is that so? I don't think I knew that. Well, in
That
that case,
could be totally possible that the person would do it themselves.
hmm, I suppose so. Still, I wonder what sort of being, I mean, aside from being an Unamagicate, like what motive? I don't know.
And unfortunately, that's the tricky thing of it. We just don't know their motive right now with controlling the school and everything.
Hmm. Hmm. Now, uh, I didn't mean to just skip over, uh, the war. I was just very impressed with your spell.
No, no.
But how have you been?
Scribbles just sighs. It's been a heavy weight on my chest that has now been relieved of, you could say.
Hmm.
I was definitely scared when going to the island. I knew that there was a good chance that the King of Rings, Helios, would gun it for possibly Selly because of her
Hmm.
connection to Ark, and with Ark being on the island or getting close to the island, I was afraid the worst case scenario that he would probably try to kill Selly in front of
Hmm.
Ark just to just to be just to hurt him, and I was just
Hmm.
extremely afraid of that.
Yeah, of course. He sort of like gives him a pat on the back.
Yeah, and also I I mean, I know that if I didn't defeat them, they were gonna kill us, but it still
Hmm.
felt a little wrong when I fully knew that dark and ghost types have weakness to light, and what's better than light than radiant magic? And
Hmm.
I twisted my spells to do that particular damage type to them.
Right.
I don't know if I mean again, it was one of those things just like most of say other than like maybe one or two of them, they were taken from they were taken from birth from eggs that fell off of the ferryman and were taught and grew up with Helios. It felt
Ah, I see.
it felt at least a bit wrong for a few of them to do something like that, knowing that they were just raised to hate Ark.
Right. It wasn't really their fault.
Nor really their choice.
Exactly. At the same time, uh, you knew that they had to be neutralized so that they wouldn't, in their uh, lack of control and their ignorance, destroy many good things.
Yeah, it's just like with I felt Helios's power before, and it's scary. It
Mm,
they say he could have. This could have been a doomsday situation if he would have won.
hmm
And I'm glad, say, Ark was able to at least keep him distracted while we were able to set up the plan to basically get rid of him. But if that hadn't worked, I'm not even
Right.
sure if we would have, even in his weakened state, would have been able to take him down in a fight.
Mm, yes. It's it's easy to think about how things could have gone, uh, how they could have gone better, how they could have gone worse. Uh, I've been doing some of the same myself recently, um, but I've been reminded that it's not a, a good idea to dwell too long on such things. It's good to think about them and process them, but not to hold on to them.
Scribbles nods to this. Yeah, and I mean, the ghost types and dark types are free now. Families have been reunited.
Good,
Say, I I know there's still gonna be a process after this. Like they
of course.
say for the non say they've for the non ghost and dark type they just lost their leader and are realizing the catastrophes that he did
hmm
for he does this in air quotes protection,
hmm
which honestly I even talked to him afterward and he didn't regret anything at all and he still thought he was in the right.
I hate those types.
I know. And I mean, it still felt satisfying to see him squirm when he realized I was gonna marry Sally. It felt really good.
uh, wait, have you actually? You've gone and done it?
No,
You've
no, no,
actually
no, no, not yet. No, no, I
proposed?
have not. No, no, we have not got married just yet.
No,
But
but you've proposed?
I did. I thought I told you. I've written to you about that. I did propose at say Happy's place.
Oh, duh, of course. He just sort of shakes his head, like, lot going on.
And Scribbles does give another pat on the on the back. Yeah, after everything we've been through, it's fine. It's fine.
uh, speaking of, did you know TOC's engaged?
I I think I didn't know that. I think I did. I think they told me. It's been a while.
They didn't tell me until shortly after the incident with the dragon.
Yeah, it was definitely a surprise for me.
Hmm,
But I'm happy that I still need to meet her. I still need to meet Juniper.
me too.
But for now, I'm just trying to take things one step at a time. It's just where the next thing that we're gonna do is, well, I already contacted Faber and Jewel, but hoping to now build our home. And I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier. Our it's gonna be a castle, and he sort of blushes,
Mm.
and his hair turns pink.
Well, that sounds lovely. So you mentioned them before. They're recovered now?
Yes, thank God. Say,
Good.
we actually found a little trick to help them at least a little further out because apparently their Ark's light flock released on the island for the ghost and dark types was a little bit advantageous to us because
Hmm.
it blocked out all influences of Helios, including
Oh.
our Helios's own cursed life lock on Faber and Iona. So when we took them to the
Huh.
island, they basically got their minds back.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, Lynn was able to figure that one out, and honestly, I'm still a little bit jealous that I didn't think of it before.
Well, that's very good.
Mm-hmm. But
Well,
yes,
just going to say I'm very glad that the uh, various parts of Pokemon society now have the chance to um, change and rebuild without the influence of two, uh, from what I understand, very terrible people.
yeah, one a dictator, one a maniac. It wasn't good for either thing.
No. And it'll
Sully's,
take time, of course, but
yeah, Stilly is still shaken up about all this. Honestly,
mm,
she is not very sure how to feel. I mean,
hmm,
she still cares about her father in some regard, but at the same time, he has done terrible things.
yes. Yes, that's perfectly understandable.
And Scribbles nods. Yeah, it's just I'm trying to be there as much as I can for her.
Yes, it's very good.
Yeah. Scratch is still a bit upset because I mean, he's overly strong as a
Mm,
Uda Magic, at least beginning out as I say, he has more magic than a normal person would, but it
hmm.
still wasn't gonna be enough for at least this last bit of the war because he just
Oh,
recently got to this stage of being able to be self-sufficient and have his own little, well, it's not a book, he decided is a it was a little gift from actually Jewel gave him a little amulet that he was
hmm.
able to tie himself to, but
Oh,
he was still getting used to using his own magic, and he was pretty upset when I didn't allow him to go to the island with us.
huh. Well, I think you made a smart choice.
I I think so too. It's just hard to explain because like Scratch has always been in battle with me before for my whole entire life, pretty much up until more recently, but
Right.
at the same time, he wasn't able to get truly hurt or wasn't until now.
Hmm.
And it's hard for Scratch to understand that.
Right.
Because,
Mm.
yes, he has battle smarts, he knows how to fight, but it's just. I.
It He has to adjust to his new vulnerabilities,
Exactly.
and that's uh not easy.
No. No, it is not. And I've been trying to help him see that, but he is still upset with me.
Mm. Well, I hope that he'll learn to understand that. you were only doing it to protect him and because you love him.
I think so. I think he will. It's just hard in the when you're in the moment, you know.
Yeah, I understand.
He then sort of just like sort of leans back, like say not on the sill, but just like on his hands, just leaning back as he sits down and looks out to the stars.
Hmm.
I am excited for what's at least coming next in our lives, though. Now that that's over, I feel like we'll be able to at least maybe breathe for like 5 seconds. And he giggles,
I hope so.
hoping to get the castle done, hoping that
Hmm.
we'll be able to actually get married.
Hmm.
Just need a little space to breathe, you know? Just need to get
Of
some space.
course.
And he just smiles and as he like points out with his hands like space, making the joke.
Uh-huh. That's right. Yes, well, I think you've more than earned it.
Yeah, but make sure to take care again. Just take care of yourself also. He gives a little nudge to the professor.
Hmm. Yes, I need to get better at that, but I will try.
And that's all I can really ask for.
Mm.
Though if you though don't be still afraid if you need my assistance, call for help. I am always willing to.
Mm. Thank you, dear. I deeply appreciate that.
He gives a little nod. Yeah, I've been coming pretty strong and say,
Hmm.
and I'm just like sure there I couldn't defeat Helios, but at the same time, being able to perform fifth level spells is nothing to scoff at.
No, not at all.
And I think I'm on the verge of learning sixth level, but I think it'll still take a
Mm.
little bit of time.
Hmm.
So what's next on your agenda, Professor?
Hmm. Well, hmm, I don't know. I think hmm, I think I might just do a little sightseeing. It's been a bit since I had the chance to actually genuinely do that. When I wasn't uh tied up in some other situation at the same time. There have
Skip.
been a few museums I've been meaning to visit.
Oh, what museums were you thinking of?
Uh, well, mostly Einquellian ones, but a few in Toontown. I believe there's also a couple in Villestown.
Oh yeah, they have good museums.
Hmm.
I heard Happy's Place actually has a pretty cool history museum on the continent of Inkwell.
Hmm. Maybe I'll have to get out that a ways as well.
Mm-hmm. Though I will also warn you, there's also a university there, but the university also has a world's largest crystal ball, and I'm not very
That's
sure
it.
how you feel about this, but it supposedly tells the future, and it I mean, looks he sort of just like waves his hands, just like I mean, it showed me the castle, and yeah, it's just like
Hmm.
I'm not very sure how you feel about that sort of thing, looking into your possible future, but at the same time, it's just like it's there.
Yeah, he sort of shrugs a bit and he says, like, there's a very good chance that it shows a possible future, but not necessarily the one that well, not necessarily the one that you will end up fulfilling. Um, of course, there is a chance that you end up fulfilling it, but I would have to guess, um, because without certain resources, it would be extremely difficult to uh, truly accurately predict such things. Not saying it can't be done, but there's not too much harm in showing people a potential future as long as they understand that it's not certain and that they uh, shouldn't. mm, Well, if they're working towards something, just because they see their goal doesn't mean they have to stop working for it. You know what I mean?
I think I get what you mean. Yeah, but I think it's still a cool. I think you enjoy it at least then.
Yeah, sure, I might check it out.
Yeah, they also have some really good like nature hiking trails there. They say good places to
Mm,
relax. There was a
mm,
they say there are plenty of festivals that go along with the yearly holidays and everything. We were more near Halloween at the time, and so they had all the decorations
mm.
up.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Mm-hmm. So they may have something when they say when you're there.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm still thinking of where Sully and I want to go, but I sort of want to. I sort of want to try to find for our, at least our little honeymoon. I sort of want to try to. So she's always wanted to go off the continent, and I may ask
Mm,
Lynn about this, but I may ask where maybe a safe place for us to go, maybe vacation for a little bit,
hmm.
honeymoon, I should say.
Yes, yes. Hmm. Well, that sounds nice. I hope you can find a suitable place.
Thank you.
Whatever you do, don't go to a place called Stecky's.
I don't think I've heard of it, but I'll remember it anyways.
Yes, that's where we had the encounter with the uh, criminal mastermind.
I see. Duly noted then. This has been nice.
Yes, I'm glad you think so.
Despite all the conversations, I do enjoy your company, Professor. You have been a
Oh,
good friend.
and are you? Mm. You know, it's nice when the first person you meet when you travel somewhere is actually nice to you.
Yeah.
Usually, usually I get accused of murder or something like that.
That sounds about right. Unfortunately.
Hmm.
But no, I gotta say, I feel like some sort of fate had to cross paths with us meeting.
Perhaps. It was certainly fortuitous.
Indeed, it was.
However it happened, I'm glad it did.
I'm glad it did too.
Hmm. Well, before we head back, how would you like some tea?
Tea sounds wonderful, Professor.
All
Maybe
right.
we can see those whales that you mentioned earlier.
Yes, I might just be able to nudge her a little bit closer.
Let's say that I think tea and sightseeing with whales would be wonderful.
Very good. And I think we leave him there, perhaps?
I think we leave him there, perhaps. This has been
Hmm.
fun.
Yes, it's been very good. Thank you
Mm,
so much, Winona.
no problem. This is say thank you for doing this.
Hmm.
And thank you for everyone listening in now and into the future. All right. Bye.
Bye.